Hi, I'm Chuck Minear and welcome to Are We There Yet? As you can see behind me, my Grand Design Imagine XLS 17 MKE is parked. We're settled for a little bit of time, and when you're settled, it's a good time to do some projects. Now, one of the things I've wanted to do is to expand my camera system. Now, most rigs only have one backup camera, and that should be sufficient, right? But not for me, because the system that I am going to install today can handle up to 4 backup cameras. So why not install 4 cameras? Join us today as we install a Haloview BT 7 with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 cameras. And why would we do that? Because we can?
Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go, with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day, it's ours to take, and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
So we've got a little bit of downtime right now, and the best time to do upgrades on your rig is when you have some downtime. So one of the things I wanted to do is to upgrade my rear view camera. You know, every single rig should, I think, have some kind of a camera on the back so you can see when you're backing up and what's coming up behind you. And I've got one on there now, and it's a pretty good system. But what I wanted was something with a little bit more clarity, and I also wanted to be able to have some cameras on the side and maybe another one on the back. I know, a little fancy. Most people want one camera on the back. I'd like one that points down right at the bumper so I can see how close I am to backing up to something. And I like something that shows more of the traffic behind me so that when I'm driving, it's acting like a rear view mirror. Okay. So I read a lot of reviews online, looked up a few things because I am a information junkie, and I landed on the Haloview BT 7. It has a lot of good reviews. The pricing was reasonable, and it allowed me to add multiple cameras for not that much extra. So as you can see, I put the system out here because you get all this stuff when you buy it. You get a nice monitor, 7-inch monitor. You get a camera for the back, one camera. And one thing I like about this camera that I would have liked to have on the last camera that I had was this particular housing has space in the back for wires to go tuck up underneath. My last one just mounted onto the rig, right onto the surface, and I had to tie the wires to the side. So I like that. And then all kinds of wiring. These are probably every kind of wiring configuration, including this wiring configuration, which is the one we'll use. My rig has a pre-wiring done for a Furrion backup camera system. And the Furrion system is a great system. It looks really nice, but it is way, way, way overpriced. Probably another half again what the price of this unit was, which I'll put down in the show notes. I'll put a link so you can find both of them if you'd like. But this, because my rig is pre-wired for Furrion, this is the Furrion end, and this is the Haloview end. You plug this in, and there's no real wiring, at least on the back camera. Okay, so this is nice. There's also, you know, instructions, antennas. There's this mount that I probably won't use, but it's the mount for the dashboard. It sticks on the dashboard, and you can put the unit right on it, or you can use this mount, screw into the sides, and mount this somewhere in the unit if you'd like. But it comes with all of the parts for installation of this. Okay, so that's great. This is the gasket that was on the rig already. If you're lucky, your rig is already wired in the back for a backup camera. And as I said, mine is wired for a Furrion. The Furrion uses this type of a plate and mounting system and you have to remove this. Now, one thing I'll say is on the previous camera I had, the previous camera came with a mount that actually was this shape if I had asked them for that, which I did. And so that one went right on. This one I'm going to have to remove the entire backing plate that's already installed and then install their backing gasket. Then I'm going to put in this one. This is the one that comes with it. So you can see the shape is different. Luckily, the holes should line up, so I shouldn't have to drill new holes, hopefully. Now the kit that I bought also has an extra camera. And so here's the extra camera. Extra camera's in this box, came separately, but it hooks up the same. So what I want to do is on the unit, I'm going to put one in the spot and then run a short wire down to another one. One I'll have turned down toward the bumper and one I'll have looking at traffic behind me, just because I can have 4 cameras on this, and I'm going to give it a try. So one of the other features that I invested in was this baby. This is a side camera. It replaces one of the running lights. I've got 2 of them. And if you look at this side has a camera. So you put this on the side of the unit and then aim the camera where you want it. And now you have rear view mirrors kind of on the side of your unit. I don't know how useful this will be, but something I wanted to try out and let you know if it's any good. So why don't you come with me today? We'll take all of these things and we'll install them.
We want to make sure that the cameras are paired to the screen. So let me show you how I paired one of the side cameras, but you do the same for each camera. The unit comes with a small power supply and a pairing cable just for this purpose. It's much easier to do this on the ground before you mount the cameras and then have to do this on a ladder. Plug the Y power cable into the power supply and the monitor into one side of the Y. Then plug the pairing cable into the other side of the Y and into the camera using the bare wire adapter also included in the kit. The side cameras need the bare wire adapter, the regular cameras do not. You'll also need to screw on the antenna. Set the monitor to the channel that you want to pair the camera to. Press the M button on the monitor, then navigate to the pairing icon and press Enter on the monitor. Now press the button on the camera and hold it down for a couple of seconds. Unplug the camera and then plug it back in after a few seconds to restart the camera. When the camera starts up, it should then be visible on the monitor. Do these steps for each camera that you want to pair. By the way, the camera that comes with the monitor should already be paired to it, but you can double check that. Now for what I'm doing, I also need to make a modification to the wiring setup. I have one power connector at the top rear of the rig, and that has the Furrion style plug that I talked about. So I need to connect the Furrion plug to the rig. And the other end has to come first and connect to the first camera. And then from the first camera power, I need to run a wire over to the second camera and plug that in. I use some shrink tubes that have solder in the center. They're great connectors to do this. You just need a heat gun or a hairdryer to use these connectors. You can use any decent connector for wires, but I will put a link in the show notes for the ones I used. Now I'm ready to connect the rear cameras. First, I'm going to get up on the ladder and remove the old camera. Next, I'm going to use a little acetone and clean off the old caulking. And here was my first hiccup. Usually the wire from the rig pushes through the hole into a space behind the wall, so that when you hook it up, if you have extra wire, you just push it into the wall of the camper. It's not a big deal. But this camper had the wire drilled a little to one side, and so the wire actually went through a wood piece, and therefore there was no more room in the wall to push extra wire. I also realized that the second camera did not have enough of a downward angle to show the bumper. So I decided to make two spacers, one to hold camera 1 far enough to make some extra space behind the camera to shove some wires into, and the other spacer I would cut at an angle to make it like a wedge and further point the camera down toward the bumper. But what should I use? I don't want to use wood because it rots. So I went to my local Home Depot and bought a length of PVC casing. PVC won't rot and should be a good material to space the cameras out from the wall. So I cut out the center of the first piece for the first camera. I cut that out for wires to fit inside and mounted it to the rig. You'll notice before I mount anything, I grab a tube of caulking. This is silicone. I make sure that every hole has silicone in it. Any border or trim has silicone on it. Anything or anywhere that water might intrude, just for safety, I put silicone on it to seal it to the rig. Then I plugged in the Furrion style plug, pushed the extra wire into the cutout, and screwed the camera into the rig. I cut another piece in the wedge shape that I talked about, attached it to the rig next to the first camera mount, ran the wire from the first camera to the second camera, plugged it into the back of the camera, and that connected camera 2 to the power. I finished off both with silicone caulking around the PVC mount and over the screw heads for good measure. Next, I needed to connect the side cameras. I went to the side running light closest to the front of the rig, used a screwdriver to pop off the cover of the light, and unscrewed the existing light from the rig. I cleaned off the residual adhesive with some acetone. I then attached the camera wiring and covered the green wire, which I did not use.
Then I screwed the new unit to the wall of the rig, cocked the edges, aimed the camera, turned on the running lights, and went to try out the system.
You know, I was thinking some of you may be wondering how you turn the running lights on your trailer without having the truck plugged in. It's pretty easy. So if you have a regular 7-pin plug like this one, you find the ridge, put a fuse just bridging the 2 pins on the top along the bridge there, and it will turn on the lights. So see, I placed it in the 2 near the ridge, and you can see the lights are on. All right, I'm sitting in the truck, and as you can see, I've got cameras. Isn't that great? So it's pretty easy. You press the S button over on the right, and it tells you it'll move from camera to camera. So for camera 4, for example, is down near the bumper. Hit the S key, and it goes into split into 3. So here's how it works. You go to one of the cameras and you press the M button and you get the whole menu. And so one of the things I'm going to look at is Q mode. And Q mode, and to go to Q mode, just click the arrow keys until you come to Q mode and then hit enter. And you have all of these options here. You have all of these options to display the cameras. You can display them split screen, as 3 cameras, as 4 cameras. I've decided to display them as 3 cameras. I don't really need to see the bumper camera unless I'm parking. So this camera is going to be the distance camera, although right now all you can see is the roof of the garage. And these are the 2 side cameras. This is my left side of the rig and the right side of the rig. And as I go down the road, I can leave that on and I can watch the cars that are behind me, or what's coming up on the left side or the right side. I can also push the S button and I can go through the camera. So there's camera 1, left side of the rig. There's the right side of the rig, and you can see the trucks parked next to it. This is the far shot, which is showing the top of the roof. This is the bumper shot, and you can also see backup lines that can be set, which I'll do later on when I'm parked in an area that's got more space behind me. And if I click it again, it goes back to my preferred screen, which is the 2 side and the 1 large backup screen. So which is the best system? Well, obviously I think the BT7, the Haloview BT7, is one of the better. It is moderately priced. It is very high quality, high definition, 1080p. The signal strength is very strong. As I drive, I have not had any dropouts of any of the cameras, and I haven't had to use a booster or anything. It's just been a strong, steady signal. The setup is easy. The reassigning the cameras is easy. The installing the cameras, fairly easy. And I think it's all around the best value for the money.